Hi friends, this is Anna with Scrapping, Stamping, and Stuff. I'm really excited about our project today. We are going to make a project that one of my customers that I met recently shared with me. She said she has been making these for years, and I asked her if she could find the tutorial to share because I just loved it. So the original tutorial that I found for this really cool chest of drawers was shared by Brenda Quintana, I believe. So I wanted to give her credit for that because I did not come up with this. But take a look at this. You can pull these adorable drawers out and fill them with treats or little toys or trinkets or treasures. You could even use these for storage on your desk or your dresser if you wanted to. But I just thought these were really fun. So we are going to make these. Doesn't take any stamping at all, but we're going to do lots of scoring and cutting and folding. So I'll tell you what we need first. We need a piece of, so I use cardstock for the base, all of the base of this, and then designer paper for the inside. You don't have to do it that way, but that's how I'm going to explain it. So you need a piece of cardstock that measures 12 by 12 inches. We're going to make, so I made a fall sample here. We're going to make a Christmas one for the one we do right now. So 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. We need a piece of 8 by 8 cardstock, which I've already done some of the work on here. We need one piece of 11 3/8 by 9 3/8 designer paper. And we need two pieces. Here I've done some of the work on this one. Two pieces of designer paper that measure 9 3/8 by 9 3/8. So we're going to start with this piece of 12 by 12. This is for the base, and we're going to cut it, and then I'll show you how, score it, then we'll cut it and show you how to prepare this. So this one, we are going to score at 2, 4, 8, and 10 inches. Now we are going to turn it sideways and score again at 2, 4, 8, and 10 inches. And on this side, we also need to add a score mark at the 6-inch mark, just down to the first score line across. So it's just comes down 2 inches. Flip it all the way around. So the one we just did, it's down here at the bottom, that 2-inch mark, and we're going to do one right up here at the top as well. Now, you can fold this up now if you want to, or you can do your trimming first. Doesn't matter. On the designer papers, I like to do my folding now because it helps me see those score marks when they're a little bit hard to see. But let's go ahead and trim this one. The first thing we need to do, and hopefully you can see all these score lines, the first thing we need to do is trim out the 3 boxes on each corner. And when I do my trimming, I did not do this the first time, and I had a little bit of problem with it. So I recommend that when you do your trimming, you are cutting just on the inside of that score line. Don't cut on the score line, cut right inside it. So whichever side is towards the center of the paper, you are going to cut just on that side of the score line. So right now I'm cutting just on the left side of the score line. For each of these in the corners, I like to cut out a block of 2, and then I'm going to go back and cut off the block of 1 just around the corner from it. So again, I'm on the inside of that score line. I'm on the right side of it this time. When I turn back this way, I am going to be on the left side. Hopefully that makes sense. If you fold up your box and you find that it doesn't fold up quite right, that it seems like there's a little bit of extra paper in there, this trick is going to help fix that for you. So on each corner, we cut out a block of 2. Then we cut out this block of 1. So you want to make sure on this side, you're going to have a longer block left out here on the edge. And then on this side, you're going to have those 2 smaller ones. But otherwise, we are cutting out 3 blocks from each corner. If this is your first time watching by chance, I would not suggest this to a beginner. You are going to have quite a bit of scoring, cutting, and folding, and they're really fun to make. I can see why Mary really likes to make these. The first one took some thought, and after that, I got the hang of it, and they're a lot of fun. So hopefully I can make this easy for you. Okay, so here's our last one to cut out, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got our 2 blocks down here, and then it zigzags out to the outside pieces, and then up here at the top we have those 2 smaller sections as well. Now we do need to do a little bit more trimming. So let's do that. Here where these small score lines are, we're actually going to trim out a small section about 1/8 of an inch wide. So you want to cut on the right side and on the left side of that score line and have a little area removed just like that. We'll do the same thing on this side. This is going to be to accommodate the little shelf in the center of our chest of drawers. And we need to do a little bit more snipping. We need to create these turn these into flaps. So I've got the ones with the little area cut out on the left and the right, and now we are going to create some flaps here. So this time I'm cutting directly on the score line. I'm not cutting on the inside of the score line for these flaps I'm creating right now. So we want to turn those 2 into flaps, flip it all the way upside down, and do the same thing with these 2. Now, one more optional step that I found helped is to trim off a little bit of the paper we have left here. You don't have to do this. You can try it once or twice, see if it works without it. But I found that if I cut off the outside of this flap, the outside of each flap, I should say. So the left side of that one, the right side of this one. Then turn it all the way upside down again, do the same thing. This just helped it fold a little bit better, and we are going to trim off one more thing before we finish that wasn't included in the original instructions. So like I said, you can play around with this and see what works. You can do it without all this extra snipping and fold it up once and see if it works for you. And if so, you can save yourself a little bit of snipping, but I found that I needed to trim off a little bit more. One more thing to snip. These longer sections, I found that this worked a little better if I just trim off a little bit on the outside of that one and this one. Okay, so we're going to fold all of these lines now to loosen those up. We only need to fold them up. We don't need to fold them back as well. If you're using designer paper, you want to make sure the top, the part of the paper you want to be on the outside, it needs to be facing down. So keep that in mind. The first time you fold one of these up, I really encourage you not to put adhesive on. But since I've done this a few times and I'm relatively confident I can do this, I am going to go ahead and I just put one glue dot on the outside flaps that are going to be the ones, the last ones folded in, which are the ones that don't always stay in place without some adhesive. So I'll stick these on and then I'll show you which ones I put them on. So I got my dots on the large flaps on each edge and then the 2 small flaps on each edge. Okay, now I do need to set this aside until we have our next piece prepared, because we will need this shelf in the center to be able to put all of that together. So this is the piece that measures 8 by 8 inches. So I'll show you what I did. I scored at 2, 4, and 6 inches. Then I turned it 90 degrees and I scored at 2 and 6 inches. This time you do not do one down the center. I trimmed out just one of the corner pieces on this one. So one square out of each corner got cut out. I did cut those on the insides of the score lines, just like on the other one. Then on the longer piece on the sides that had the score line through it, we trimmed out a small section like we did on that last one. One last step, this was my extra step that helped me have a little bit better luck with it. I did trim off a small section from here and a small little strip from here. Okay, I've got this folded up and we are ready to put our base of all of this together. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to fold these sides up just enough to get these top two right here, get those folded down so that this piece on the very top, so that this can fold up and over. Okay, so I am going to press this down. Now I do have my adhesive on, so I want to make sure it is all folded up tight when I press that down in place. Like I said, the first time you do this, I really encourage you not to put adhesive in there, and then you can go back and put some in later once you're comfortable with it, once you know everything fits together right. This piece, or smaller piece, I folded on all those lines, and we want to fold that center section up, and these side pieces have to fold out. Now we are going to insert this in, which gets a little tricky with all these flaps here, but we'll insert that into the center, and I didn't put any adhesive on that at all. Now we are going to fold these side flaps down and in. Fold these two small flaps at the bottom up, and that will allow this bottom flap to fold all the way up and in. Hey, check that out. So we have the base all ready. Now we just need our drawers to put on the inside. So for the drawers, let's do our big drawer first. So this is the piece of designer paper that measures 11 3/8 by 9 3/8. I am going to score this at 1 7/8 and 3 3/4 on every side. So I'm going to do 1 7/8, 3 3/4, then I'm turning at 90 degrees. 1 7/8, 3 3/4. And I really have to focus on this. Sometimes when I'm not doing quite as much scoring, I like to put my little markers up here, but I really have to focus here. 1 7/8, 3 3/4. And this will be the last one. Okay, now I mentioned this earlier. On the designer papers, I really like to do my folding first because it is a little tricky to see those score lines on some of these prints. And on this one, I have to remember that I want the print that I want to be on the outside, it has to be down. So I'm actually going to flip this over because that stripe was the one I wanted on the outside. So on this one, we are going to once again trim out the outside 3 corners, outside 3 squares from each corner. So I'll get to work cutting while I'm cutting, because this is the exact same process as with that outside, with the base of this. I'll tell you a story. So when I started to make these, I had planned on doing Halloween drawers because I thought these would be really fun for Halloween, and they will be really fun for Halloween. That's why I'm sharing them now. But when you know how you start creating sometimes and things just evolve, and sometimes you end up with something completely different than what you had planned on? That's kind of what happened here. I was running low on my Halloween designer paper, and as a result, I decided to grab that gilded autumn paper on my sample that I already have done because I love it. So I thought that would work for Halloween, or it would work for fall. So we've got that fall one, and when we get done, we will have a Christmas one to show you. I will also mention this. So the original tutorial that I found, they're called Santa drawers. So that's pretty fun. It was a Christmas project called Santa drawers. And one more corner to go. Then we will move on to a little bit of snipping we need to do. What I found was the designer paper was a little bit easier to work with than the cardstock. So you could even try making the whole thing out of designer paper, and it might go together a little bit easier without that extra snipping. But the cardstock makes it nice and sturdy. I'm actually amazed at how sturdy these drawers, the chest and the drawers are. Okay, now that we have the 3 squares cut out from each corner, we need to do the next step, which is cutting those flaps. So with the wider section at the top and the bottom, and the smaller section left at the left and right, we will cut these flaps. This is basically the same as we did on the base. So cut there and there, flip it over, and do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I'm going to refold these a little bit now that my bottom side is on the bottom, or my front side is on the bottom. And I am going to put some glue dots on the 4 outside pieces like I did on that other one. Glue dots are amazing. If you've never used these, you should definitely try them. And every once in a while, I talk to somebody who still does it the hard way, the way I did when I started crafting, where you're trying to pick the glue dot off and stick it on your project. But you don't have to do that. You can just hold this right up to your project and stick it right on there without even touching it. Okay, we are ready to fold. So we're going to fold, we'll do it this way. Fold these 2 smallest flaps in, and you can go ahead and stick those down right now. Then we fold these side pieces up, fold their flaps inward, and you just have to fold this up and over. Show you this. When you have adhesive on here and you're trying to do this, you want to make sure before you push that flap in that you have pushed these pieces in left and right. I'll show you. I can pull these outward some, and you don't want them to be there. So you want to make sure as you are doing this, if you are actually putting it together permanently with adhesive, that you push inward on each of these as you fold it closed. Same thing here. And you will feel this one. I think there was just a tiny bit too tall of flap inside there. You'll feel when these don't want to fold closed. And if they don't want to fold closed, just open it back up, snip a little bit of paper off, and they should work. Love this drawer. I love this cute striped paper. Okay, so we're going to put that one in. Now, let's do our small drawer, one of our small drawers. So this piece measures 9 3/8 inches by 9 3/8 inches. When you start, it's going to be a square. You are going to score the same way we did on this bigger drawer with the designer paper. You're going to score at 1 7/8 and 3 3/4 inches on each side. So you're going to do that here, turn at 90 degrees, 1 7/8, 3 3/4. Repeat that on all 4 sides. The next thing, you are going to prepare it exactly the same way. You trim out the 3 corner squares, cutting on the insides of those score lines from each corner. And then this one doesn't matter which way it's turned, but you're going to cut here and here to create these flaps. Flip it over, do the same thing on these flaps, okay? So we are ready to put adhesive on the outside 4 flaps. And we'll fold in 2 of them. Good thing I got lucky this time that my correct side, my outside of my box is, or my drawer is downward. I got lucky because I forgot to pay attention to that. So fold these up and those flaps in. And now these are going to fold up and over. We'll put this one in. And I have our second one prepared. You need to do a second one just like that. Already prepared. Hey, our drawers are coming together. I just love these. I think they're so much fun. And they'd really be a fun gift for somebody that you want a little something extra for any occasion. For, you know, sometime this fall or for Christmas. Decorate some of these up and you could put some fun little goodies in there for them. So now let me tell you how I decorated these. This is the largest die from our Stitched So Sweetly die set. I cut that out in, this is Old Olive cardstock. I don't believe I ever told you that. And this is designer paper from our Heartwarming Hugs paper pack. This was the Gilded Autumn paper pack with some soft suede cardstock on the outside. Okay, so I got that cut out from Old Olive from the Stitched So Sweetly die set. Here is a piece of the same designer paper that measures 3 3/4 by 2 5/8. And I want to put some adhesive on the back of this and get that attached together. Now, I have cut out some of these cute playful alphabet letters with our playful alphabet die set from our red and green foil paper. I just used the red out of the pack. And I used our foam adhesive sheets behind them. So you can see that these are actually 3-dimensional. And I'll see if you can tell on these that those actually pop out. They're 3-dimensional. I love these foam adhesive sheets. You peel off the paper backing from the top, you stick your paper onto them, and then you die cut through it. After your die cuts are created, these are basically stickers, and we will just peel that paper backing off of the back when we're ready to put them in place. So this one, you can make these say anything you want. You can make them say Santa drawers. This one I decided to put treats on. Halloween, you could do treats. You could do boo or spooky or anything fun like that. I thought about doing fall or autumn on this one, but I decided to go with the thankful. So once you have them laid out where you want, then you can get them put into place. I'm getting my take your pick tool ready. I'm going to use that spatula end to stick these down. So I'm just going to peel that paper backing off, turn it into a sticker, and put that on my spatula, and I can put it right where I want it. So what all kinds of things can we put in these? I just had a thought. I bet K-cups would fit in these. You could do the little hot chocolate or cider packs in these. There are lots of fun things you could put in these. Coal, you know, those fun Christmas treats that are like reindeer poop and coal, those would be fun in them. All right, so now that we have that on, I wanted to use some strong adhesive to attach that to the back of the drawers. So I am going to use 3 strips of tear and tape. Since this is something that maybe I'm planning on leaving mine out as a decoration. So since it will be something that's out and having people and maybe even children tugging on them to get those drawers open and closed, I wanted to make sure this was held on well. Some of that tear and tape. And we are almost done, so I hope you like this project today. I thought they were a lot of fun, and I hope you do too. So I'm just going to lay this over top. And I'm going to line this up straight here to try with my grid to try and make sure I get all of this on straight. Okay. Oh, and I forgot about decorating putting our little handles on our drawers. So I'll show you how to do that. I made these cute little bows. This is some of all the trimmings designer paper it comes with, the red and the green in it. This was from our, let's see, basket weave and metallic ribbon combo pack. So if you struggle to make bows or you are not sure you can make bows this tiny, I encourage you to check out, I made a video a while back on 10 tips for tying a perfect bow every time. So you can actually do a fun trick with a fork to make tiny bows like this, and they turn out really nicely. So I rolled up one of my glue dots to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to stick it right on there. I don't want that extra glue dot sticking out the sides of my bow causing problems. So I'll do that again. I'm just going to roll that up with my finger a little bit. Stick the bow on top. And add that. You do want to pay attention to these. On this side, you can see that paper pops out. And on the front side, that doesn't happen. So I like to use this as my front. Put those on there. We'll do our last one for the big drawer on the bottom. I did a double bow for this one on the bottom, just for something a little bit bigger for the bigger drawer. Try to make sure that's in the center. I think that's in the center. Okay. So there you go. We have some Santa drawers. We have some fall treat drawers. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to see these. If you try and make these, I would love to see what you create. I really enjoy seeing what you're all out there making, especially when I have inspired it. So send me some pictures, try these out, fill them up with treats, and people are going to love them. You can get more ideas and inspiration on my blog at scrappingstampingandstuff.com. You can shop for any of the supplies that we use today or in any of my other projects from my website. And I hope to see you again next time.